What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we had a pretty exciting reveal for Destiny 2 Beyond Light, initially with a new Stasis trailer, so we do have some new gameplay to take a look at from the trailer, but also Bungie have given us just a few extra details about how Stasis is going to work, and some previews of new gear that we'll be seeing in the Beyond Light expansion, a new vendor hub, new B-roll gameplay of Europa, and a few other things that we're going to round up inside of this video that kind of expand a little bit on what we had with that initial trailer reveal earlier on. So guys, I hope you enjoy this one. As always, we'll start out by checking out the new trailer. If you do dig it, a rating below really helps me out, but otherwise let's get into it. Initially, today as part of Gamescom Opening Night Live, we did get a new Stasis trailer, and initially there was a little bit of disappointment, obviously with a hunger for extra details about the subclasses. Although taking a better look, Boxless pointed out that we can see the subclass icons for each of the Stasis subclasses, so the Titan, then the Hunter, and finally the Warlock. By the time we get into the meat of the trailer right here, we get some pretty crazy shots of Europa with kind of fallen architecture there. And the Stranger is looking super crispy with those new updated graphics. We can see that some of the armor for Europa is pretty interesting. The Titan's class item right here has the kind of Wildcat icon, I believe is what it is. Obviously going to be linked to some of the story there on Europa. But then we see the Warlock's Shadebinder, and we can see that you can summon the staff, fire out a series of projectiles to freeze enemies, and then use another attack to destroy those enemies. Obviously in the Crucible things are going to be pretty interesting. We see the Warlock freeze a Hunter right here, and then dome them with a brand new sniper that we're going to be seeing later on in Season 12. Pretty cool Leviathan style skin right there. But then we see the Hunter's Revenant subclass, initially with the throwing axe that kind of disperses a bunch of enemies, and then some kind of frozen blade that can actually ricochet off various surfaces, and that's following up a Hunter grenade that's actually put a couple of enemies in the Crucible into kind of an AoE freeze. And finally we have the Titan Behemoth, where initially you can send out this kind of shockwave that'll freeze enemies, and we can see he follows it up with a giant kind of frozen ground slam here. So really the trailer gave us a bit of a better look at how some of Stasis is going to work in anime, as well as a little bit of gear and stuff. And so be sure to give us your thoughts on the trailer section itself. Outside of the trailer though, Bungie in the end did go ahead and post some additional information about Stasis. It's not a massive in-depth breakdown of how everything works, but it gives us a bit more flavour. So, the frozen frontier of Europa holds many lost secrets from the past, including a new dark elemental power, Stasis. So work with the mysterious Exo Stranger to harness this power before Eramis, the Kell of Darkness, bestows it on her fallen forces. Grow your arsenal, command Stasis, and go beyond to the light. They kind of break down the foundations or the building blocks of Stasis. So initially, with Stasis Field, you can even the odds by slowing your enemies in Stasis Fields and then aim down sights at your next target. And of course there are slightly different versions of these effects for each of the classes, but the general concept applies across them all. And this is followed by Freeze. A frozen foe is a conquered foe. Control the battle by immobilizing enemies in solid stasis. And then finally Shatter, a hail of icy razors erupts from broken stasis crystals, damaging those unlucky enough to be near. And it turns out Bungie are actually going to give us additional reveals for Stasis, with more specific kind of subclass details in September, on 3 separate dates. So initially for the Warlock, we'll learn more on September 1st, then for the Titan, we'll get details on September 3rd, and finally the Hunter on September 8th. And so there will be 3 separate kind of reveals for the Stasis abilities in much more depth. Those happening in early September, so be sure to stay tuned for them. However, Bungie here did share some new B-roll for Beyond Light. Some of it was in a previous trailer, but we get some pretty cool shots like this Fallen Ketch flying overhead with that Kell of Darkness icon as well, so the Fallen presence is going to be pretty serious. And we also get some additional footage right there of some of the gameplay abilities, and even a sneak peek of the Stranger's Rifle, No Time to Explain, with a crazy new kind of glowing effect at the end of the weapon right there. And it looks like perhaps the weapon will have the stasis element itself this time around. Plenty of cool shots of frozen caves, and we can see here that a character goes ahead and activates Glacial Quake, one of the abilities. And we've also got Crystalline Plating, some kind of ability notification on the side of the screen. And this appears to potentially be a lost sector inside of Clovis Bray on Europa, so that's going to be pretty interesting. And you can see some of the gameplay rolling out at the end of the video. Also, they did provide a bunch of screenshots, so we can see the Guardians with a bunch of the new weapons and armor for Europa initially across a couple of different screenshots, but then a much more in-depth look at some of the Europa-themed weapons. Certainly look pretty cool. Got a bunch of the rifles there, a rocket launcher, and sidearm. And then we also get a better look at the vendor hub that's going to be a core location on Europa. So inside the hub, there's this kind of desk And as Bungie said, we will be working with the Stranger to harness those new abilities, so it looks like this space is going to be a key part of that. But we can also see the Drifter, Stranger, and Eris outside of the vendor hub right here. But otherwise, there are loads of screenshots of Stasis in action, what Europa is going to look like from orbit, which is pretty awesome. And so you can see some of those additional screenshots rolling out right here, guys. Definitely some pretty exciting stuff inbound, so give us your thoughts about it down below, and I will be sure to keep you posted on the additional details that Bungie give us. Now though, let's round up a few additional pieces of news, and potentially related to all of the reveals today. SteelSeries tweeted out and said they're going to be dropping 40,000 legendary emblems this weekend, starting today, the 27th of August at 4 PM CST, which is around about the time that this video is going live. But there will also be additional surprises, so if you want to be in with a chance of grabbing one of those emblems, be sure to follow SteelSeries on Twitter, and I will link all of the details for that down below. Of course, as we get closer to the launch of Beyond Light, and certain content being taken away from the game, players have pointed out that if you miss an interference mission from this season, you can actually speak to Eris multiple times at the end of a mission run, and she'll randomly deliver all of the dialogue from the various missions, which also unlocks the lore and triumphs associated with it. So if you have missed any of the missions, essentially there is a bit of a way to catch up there by continuously speaking to Eris. So that's something related to this season, but otherwise content from this season, but also vanilla content and various content over the past 3 years is going to be taken out of the game. And as Bungie spoke about last week, we now have a massive list of what's going to be inside of the Destiny content vault. And of course that means content going away from the game. So that's totally worth paying attention to alongside all of these reveals, guys. And the links will be in the description box below. But otherwise, for today, that is everything that we have to round up in this video. And so I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Give us any of your thoughts down in the comments section. And if you have enjoyed the video, a rating down below really does help me out, guys. But also, once again, feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that I can keep you posted with all the D2 news as soon as it drops right here on the channel. But for now, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have an awesome day.
The floodgates are open. The darkness is here. As you step away from the light, you need only look inward. Focus your power. Let it grow. Our fight is far from over.
Let them come! This is their fate! One after another!